Hello and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host, Owen James, the channel that brings you your team every single day. It's the 1st of August. It is European, obviously, Champions League squad deadline day. Rangers must hand their squad to UEFA by 11 p.m. tonight. At time of recording, there is still no official news about any squad announcement about which players are in the squad. Obviously, no new signings as of yet announced. Like I said, the only thing that's been confirmed so far is the details, which obviously I spoke about on a video which I released last night. Now, those news obviously has broken today of some description. Personally think it's not great news. I personally think it's actually quite bad news for the club. Not positive. I thought yesterday was a very positive day with the signing of proper. Well, it looks like they're signing a proper centre back. Forgive the pun. And obviously, links to some quality players. Now, Rangers have released an interview on their Rangers TV. This was the tweet they put out earlier ahead of the start of the new season. Captain James Tavernier sat down with at Rangers TV to discuss pre-season and his return from injury. So James Tavernier in that interview, where he's described obviously as the captain, so therefore still the club captain. I personally think that is a huge mistake from Philippe Clement. But anyway, we'll get on to that later. But anyway, so it was announced that obviously that this interview is going out. The interview has gone out where people have watched the interview. I'm sure by now I've watched it a couple of times. In that interview, Tav appears to bat away any move away from the club, confirming that he is committed to Rangers, confirming that he's obviously staying at Rangers. That's how it seems. Certainly with the club putting him forward at this stage as we head towards the game on Saturday, and obviously the Champions League squad announcement later. It does look like Tav is staying put at Rangers. This is this is going to obviously delight those of you who love Tav, who still think he's a player, and obviously disappoint a great deal of fans as well. Personal opinion on this is it's a disaster. It's an absolute disaster for the club keeping this player on the squad. Everyone talks about his numbers. Oh, he's great going forward. He scores goals. Well, yeah, if you actually take away his penalties, he scores 58 goals. And I wonder how many of those are actually free kicks. I haven't got the stats on that. I hope that Philippe Clement takes penalties off him next season and puts one of the strikers on penalties. Then we'll perhaps see how many goals James Tavernier can actually score from open play. Look, my criticism of Tav is quite clear. Philippe Clement has made it out clear that he wants the midfield and the strikers to weigh in with the majority of goals this season. So we have to hope that obviously Diamande, that Barron, Lawrence, Cortez, Vlaslav Cherny can weigh in with goals. Danilo, Dessers, whoever. I know there's some uncertainty over that. Of course I do. But, if you're going into a season and your hope to dig you out of the shit is a right back, you really are a club in trouble. Now, for me, James Tavernier, as in his position, he is a right back. That's what he does. And, I've heard this stuff about, well, if he had someone in front of him, he wouldn't need to bomb forward. He wasn't bombing forward. His defense would be better. I utterly dispute that. You look at him going backwards as a defender, and he is actually very, very poor. He's lost a yard of speed. If you look at the games as well, and you look at, the whole situation around Tavernier, teams are naturally targeting that right-hand side of our defence continually and getting in down that right-hand side because James Tavernier has lost pace. His tackling ability is exceptionally poor and he is an absolute defensive liability. Now, if he obviously stays as club captain, which it looks like he is going to, then he's obviously going to play a significant number of games ahead of Dujon Sterling, which is in my opinion a mistake. Dujon is a much better defender. Yes, perhaps not quite as effective going forward, but I've heard talk as well. People saying, "Well, play Tav as a right midfielder," so you'd want to put Tav ahead of Václav Cherny. Personally, no, I wouldn't. Cherny's quick. He's good. He's good. He's skillful. He's a fast player. He can go at people. He can go inside, outside. All things Tav can't do. Tav has lost that speed, that they did previously have, and has very much gone backwards over the last couple of seasons. Talk about his captaincy, his leadership skills have been sadly lacking and found to be sadly lacking. A time when we needed leadership last season from March onwards, when the league was pretty much in our hands after Celtic had bottled it. Where was the leadership from him there? It was non-existent, in my opinion. And I know this is going to be an unpopular opinion amongst some, and you're going to start there, well, stop hating on Tav. I'm not hating on Tav. I don't hate Tav the player. I don't hate Tav the person. I just don't think he is good enough to play for the club anymore. You know, people seem to forget that he is paid to defend. That's his job. He's a right back. He is paid to be a defender. And as a defender, he is not even the second best right back at the club at this moment in time, defensively. Dujon Sterling is a better right back than him. I'd say that Leon King is a better right back than him, natural defensive right back than he is. You know, he is very, very weak in defence. You know, you look at the fact that, I mean, take Dyson Maida, for example. Dyson Maida is a very average footballer, a very average footballer. Yet up against James Tavernier, he looks like prime CR7. He just basically, he last season, go over the Old Firm games, watch the Old Firm games back. Maida absolutely owned Tav. He ran past him as if he wasn't there. He turned him inside out. He just left Tav for dead. Tav lost him. He was absolutely awful. He was appalling against Dyson Maida. And you know, if we go into the Old Firm on the 1st of September with James Tavernier at right back, Dyson Maida is going to be sitting in the Celtic changing room doing this because he knows that he's going to have the freedom of Celtic Park that afternoon, the freedom of Parkhead to go wherever he wants to, you know, to attack down that left-hand side. Look, I just think that, you know, if it is that he is staying, I think it's solely for this testimonial. You know, and look, I don't think, you know, that's a good enough reason to keep a player. You know, we've obviously had some interest in him, which obviously has not matched the fee that Rangers wanted for the player, which is obviously sad. But, you know, I would urge Rangers to try and find a buyer for this player. You know, he's going to be 32 this year, going on 33. You know, he isn't going to get any better. He is not going to get any faster. He's only going to get slower, and he's only going to get worse. You know, you take someone like Gary Neville. At least Gary Neville had the self-respect to actually say, my legs are gone. I'm not the same player I was. Take me out of the lineup. I'm giving up. Tav doesn't seem to have that self-respect to be able to do that. And for me, this news today is just really bad news. It is genuinely dreadful news for Rangers. You know, if we go into that game against Hearts on Saturday with him as our starting right back, they will probably put Vargas out there or maybe move Dander out there or whatever. And he'll get absolutely ripped to shreds again and again and again. It's a real retrospect step. You know, I really thought there was with the departures of Goldson, Barisic, Lundstrom, you know, and Jack, there was a real move at the club to get rid of that old guard that for the last, you know, since 55 have let us down repeatedly and, you know, not stood up when it's to be counted, you know, not actually led. And I don't talk about his personal stats. I'm talking about his leadership of other players, which has been sadly lacking. This for me is genuinely really, really bad news for the club today. And, you know, I watched the interview. I watched it 2 or 3 times. And I'm going to be honest with you. By the end of the 3rd time, I was actually quite depressed that he was staying. Genuinely was. I really hope that Philippe Clement sees Tavernier for what he is and plays Sterling at right back for the vast majority of games this season. You know, that will give us more opportunity to keep that defence tight. I think, you know, obviously Proper coming in is a good move. I think, obviously, you know, if we went in with a back 4 on Saturday of Sterling, if fit, Suter, Proper and Ridvan, that gives us, you know, a much more solid look to the team. I think if you go in with James Tavernier in there, it puts John Suter in a very difficult position where he knows he's got to constantly cover for a player who can't defend anymore. You know, you can't afford to be carrying players against teams. You just can't. And for me, it's going to be a case of carrying him this season, just for the sake of him getting a testimonial at the end of this year. That would appear to be the only reason for him to stay. Guys, I'd love to know your opinions, your thoughts. And look, I think we need to just respect that everyone has their own opinion. If you're a big supporter of Tav, I'd love to know why. Like I said, forget the goals, forget the assists. Defensively, he is not good enough. And I would challenge anyone who is a fan of James Tavernier and thinks he should stay to justify defensively why he should stay. And I don't want to hear the argument move him up to right wing because, number one, Philippe Clement is not going to do that. And number two, I would not start him ahead of Václav Černý. No way I would start him ahead of him. Not a chance. You know, it would be like, I don't know, it would be like for me dropping Mohamed Diamande to play, I don't know, someone like Ben Davis in there because Ben Davis can pass a ball reasonably well when he's got the ball at his feet. It's just, you know, a ridiculous move, you know. So I genuinely don't see this as a positive for the team. I genuinely don't. And like I said, I actually felt quite depressed at the end of the interview. Guys, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Always on the way out, obviously, please smash the like and obviously as well, please hit the sub. And remember always, we are the people.